so I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 5:31. I know that one of our board members, Robert Mayer, is only going to be able to attend for a short amount of time, so we still have a quorum, though, when he has to go. So is there any adjustments to the agenda? Great. And then I look for a motion to approve the minutes from Monday, February 2nd, our regular board meeting, and Tuesday, February 17th, our special endowment committee meeting.
So move.
Second.
The motion is second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Okay, we'll move on to the first public comments in our meeting.
You guys want to go?
Okay. There is an opportunity at the end if you have a comment.
Okay. Callie and I are here as representatives for the Stockbridge PTO.
Yes.
And moving forward, we're hoping to have an agenda item kind of like living on the schedule to be able to connect with you guys and just kind of touch base on what's going on. But because of how much is happening with Act 73, we thought it'd be helpful to just come in and talk about what is going on and what we're hearing from the community as PTO representatives. And so we're here today to share that with you as public comment. So last week we arranged a meeting with Representative Ruth Hardy over in Rochester to kind of talk through what's going on with Act 73. There were about 50 people there. And she was really open to having a conversation with us. She gave us a very in-depth overview of what Act 73 is. And community members were able to ask questions and kind of share our thoughts and concerns and feedback with her on what is happening.
Yeah, it was really well received. We were pleasantly surprised at how many people came and how many questions there were, and we're looking to reach out to more legislators to get more people to come. And I sent an email today with notes and posted something on our Facebook just to kind of keep the ball spinning for everybody, and like what we want and how they can participate, try to simplify it as much as possible.
Excellent.
At town meeting, we also had a presence and handed out flyers of just informational sheets to everybody about what's going on with Act 73. We also gathered contact information from people, and so we walked away from both the Ruth Hardy meeting, the town meetings, with a contact list of additionally like 100 or so names and email addresses of people who want to be informed of what's going on and want to stay engaged in the conversation. And so what we've done is we created a one-sheeter that gave a summary of what we did, but we also have like a living document that gives updates on what's happening with the legislation, and we linked it to a Google Drive and sent it out to everybody on the mailer today. And it kind of gives you, like, it's crossover week right now, so it kind of gives you like a breakdown of the two versions being discussed, what the pros and cons are of each, and kind of what it will come out of that. And then we also included a list of just like an easy copy and paste, which you've done many times, but the representatives, so people can literally just copy it. And then we just did a call to action. If people need help writing emails or they need help putting it all together, just reach out to us and we'd help with that.
Similarly to what you do, but
Yeah.
to hopefully get, I imagine your email only goes to people in
school,
like
Yeah.
people with students. So we were kind of like, how can we tap into people that don't have students that might not be tuned into what's going on?
I appreciate Stratford's done this as a grassroots effort in our community, and it's worked really well.
Great.
Yeah. Looking towards April, we also have a commitment from Senators Clarkson, White, and Major to have a meeting with us and sit down and talk through. But they wanted to get through crossover week and figure out what will be left after that to talk about. But they've all committed to sitting down and having a conversation. And then we also followed up with Ruth Hardy, and she invited us as the PTO to go with her to Montpelier and have some conversations there. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Thank you guys. That's really wonderful.
So separate from the Act 73 conversation, we're just hoping that as a PTO, we can kind of help facilitate a better connection with the school board and what we're hearing from people in the community and what kind of those conversations are looking like. So In addition to that overview, we just wanted to mention that there are definitely conversations happening, and I know that you have this on the schedule, but there are definitely conversations happening about potential restructuring and reconfiguration and what that looks like. There's a concern amongst community members about the academic performance scores and evaluations that just came out, and maybe it would be helpful to have a conversation with people about, like a more in-depth conversation with people about what those scores mean, and what it means for people who are hopeful about their kids' educational future, both at Stockbridge but also in Vermont and like the bigger picture of things. And then one idea that we wanted to kind of bring up and float, and I know that we've kind of talked a little bit about like the portal and communication methods, but was designating a classroom parent to kind of operate as a representative for both the teachers and the students to kind of help facilitate communication. It just feels like sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes there's like a little bit of a vacuum of information about what's going on in the classrooms and what, you know, the teachers might need, or what, you know, support could be helpful, or things like that. So it's just like a way to help ease that conversation for people, and maybe just have one person who's the point of contact for parents if they're like asking questions about, you know, tapping trees and if there's any supplies needed, so that it doesn't all have to go to the teacher and add to their list of like overloaded things. So just an idea that came up that people were interested in talking about.
Well, thank you very much for all that work that you're doing, and we definitely look forward to having you guys on the agenda every month and having a report so that we can keep up and we can work in partnership. Absolutely, and I definitely want to follow up on, you know, specifically getting more of a layperson to be able to explain the test scores a little bit better, to help understand what we're looking at when we're looking at test scores and stuff like that. Because I think, you know, to help bridge that gap there, to really understand. Because and the work you're doing with Act 73 is excellent. I definitely look forward to talking to you some more about the community's response at that meeting as well. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, if there, I mean, I don't know what is the appropriate, how do we continue that conversation, or what's the appropriate way to continue that conversation?
Yeah, well, I'd love to actually reach out to you and understand, and we are going to use that as we are working towards community involvement and everything. So I'd like to reach out to you and have a meeting myself, and maybe with Jamie, I don't know. He was there. Unfortunately, I was not informed of it till too late, and I'm sorry. I tried to get out of my commitment, but was unable to. So, excellent. Well, thank you so much. All right. Is there any other public comment? Okay, we'll move on to board comment. First, I wanted to thank Bill for all the work that he is. Bill is not going to. Bill's term is up at the end of this year, and unfortunately, he has decided he is not going to re-up. I guess he feels that. Well, anyway, so thank you for all the hard work and the dedication that you've had to this board and to the supervisory board. You've really played some key roles on many different committees, and we just really appreciate all the work that you have done, and you will be missed.
Well, thank you, Amy, and it was a joy to be on this board and on the SU board and to be part of this mission of doing the best we can for our kids and our community. And so it's been a pleasure, and I happen to believe all of us together are making a tremendous difference. We've got challenges ahead, but I feel very good that we're moving in the right direction. And nobody's standing pat or looking behind them. We're looking forward. And so while I won't be on this board, I hope and plan to be part of the community conversation as it goes forward.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I also would like to thank Bill for his warmth and welcoming. You know, since Josh and I have only been here a year, you've made it very easy for us to come in, and you've always like extended yourself beyond the doors, and I really appreciate it. You know, we had some long conversations when we were doing the Tunbridge Fair together, and
Yes,
I
we
really,
did.
really enjoyed that. So thank you very much for your warmth and welcome.
Yeah, I second that. From Green Up Day, when I met you out there in the grounds and the gardens, I appreciated always being welcome, to having me over for a coffee, to just talk about this community and how much you love this community in this school system. And I appreciate your mentorship, to be quite frank.
Thank you so
You're a
much.
wonderful man.
Thank you.
So what that does mean is that there's a spot opened on our board for a Stockbridge resident. Come after our the May meeting, so until May.
So if anyone
Wants to jump on?
jump in.
Yeah. Excellent. Is there any other board comment? Okay. We'll move on to celebration of learning. 4th and 5th ELA.
So a woman who probably needs no introduction, but we have Miss Donna here, who is our literacy interventionist, but also really stepped in and filled a huge role this year and is teaching 4th and 5th grade English language arts in Rochester for us as well. And she is gonna talk a little bit about what that looks like, and also some shared learning experiences that she and Mr. Hurley have done together as
Right.
well.
And I brought some copies of newsletters that I've written this year, and I would love, especially folks in talking about academic performance, I think what's really important to keep in mind is that our kids are so much more than a test score. And in here, I describe a little bit about the process of preparing kids to be able to take a state test and what that even means, how they approach it, what that will look like for them, as well as some of the writing pieces that we do. So to sit down and write a narrative, it isn't sit down and write a narrative, but that's what's going to happen on their state testing. So they're on their 3rd day, it'll be, okay, sit down and write a narrative. They'll have a prompt, and they'll need to put a whole piece of writing together in one sitting, which is quite the task, I think, for 4th graders and what have you. So there's a lot that goes into that. So these newsletters are just a part of trying to let parents know what goes into and how hard their kids are working, because kids are working really hard all the time. So one of the first, is this okay if I stand here? Absolutely. Okay. One of our first units that we worked on in our new literacy SU-wide, it's called EL, Exponentiary Learning, was poetic forms and inspiring minds. So students had to read a book together, they had to analyze characters, use evidence to support their claims, identify characteristics of poetry, use those characteristics in their own poetry, and then also read a biography about a poet of choice, and then write an informative essay. So that was a part of it. So Brendan Hurley is the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade literacy teacher here, which is very exciting for me to have another teacher teaching the same thing. So we wanted to get 4th and 5th graders from Stockbridge and Rochester together, so we got them all together for what we called a poetry jam. So their students had an opportunity, and I put a little slideshow just together right before this meeting just to show some pictures of kiddos doing that. So they all got together to share their poems. And then first they had an icebreaker where they had to use a simile to be able to describe themselves, introduce themselves. And then after they shared their original poem, we split them up into groups, kind of a group writing activity, and then in small groups they bounced around the room to brainstorm some ideas about the 5 different seasons in Vermont. Although someone reminded me afterwards, we really have 6 seasons with stick season. I left that one out. I got the mud in there. So they had to brainstorm ideas related to all seasons. It was based on a poem they had read called Knoxville, Tennessee, which was about everything in Knoxville in the summer. So they brainstormed stuff together, and then they each wrote a poem afterwards. So that was really great and successful, and it was a part of it was meeting a learning target of being able to share their ideas in front of a bigger audience. So that was great, and they loved it. So then we've been, of course, doing lots of geography, both of us, and we decided to get kids together when they had a musical performance not that long ago, like in December, I think. So we got students together to create a Vermont map on poster board. So it was something, they didn't have to be together to be able to do that, but we thought it would be more fun if they were all working on it together. So Brendan and I had prepped a bunch of pieces ahead of time. It was really tricky to have them be able to outline the counties. We had done that on tracing paper, so they had a number of different techniques that they used to be able to do that, and then they filled in some lakes and mountain peaks and our neighbors and that sort of stuff. So that was great fun, and there's some pictures in that slideshow of that too. So right now we're both teaching, it's called Voices of the American Revolution, so we're reading a book together, and then, in our own classes, we're reading them and doing lots of making claims and being able to support it with evidence and then writing pieces. So we have an artist in residence coming in April. So we're planning and that will be at Rochester. So we'll spend the day together and attend the artist in residence pieces together and then come back. So we're thinking of debate teams of sorts, splitting up into groups like patriots and loyalists, maybe some Quakers who had that voice of peace at that time, and Native Americans, just to switch that up and give them more time to interact and have a good time together. We have done field trips together this year. That's an easy one, to be able to bring kids together for field trips. And I just planned at the end of May, we're going to Fort Ticonderoga for the day. So kids are really excited about that and excited to be able to see their peers in the other class. And lots of parents are welcome to come to that. We'll go to the State House this spring too. So yeah, that's what we've got going on. I think that's just, yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much.
you.
It's so-
You're welcome.
I love hearing what's happening in the classroom. Is there any board comment?
Yeah, I really appreciate the efforts of you, Mr. Hurley, working together and co-oping and connecting. Also, we've talked about that earlier as the board connecting the two communities, and it's just wonderful to hear the teachers uniting and working together. And
Thank you.
the field trips, the curriculum, it's great stuff. Thank you, Ms. Donna, for everything you do for this community, both of them. We appreciate you.
Love That Dog is a fun unit. It's a real fun unit, and I just appreciate how you approached it and made it fun for the kids and the cooperative things, so it makes it easier to write your own poem. It's just great learning techniques, and I thank you for that. Also, your comment about tests are just a snapshot.
Right.
Once upon a time in Vermont, we had portfolios, and they were time-consuming,
Yes.
but they actually showed what the kids could
Yes.
do. Unfortunately, they gave them up because they're expensive and they were time-confusing. But yeah, you know, your dog died that morning, you're not going to do well on the test, even though you're like an excellent student, or things are going on at home. It definitely affects test scores, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to the superintendent's report then.
So you have my handwritten report. I also included in the packet the restructuring roadmap that we discussed last month. What I added is dates in regards to this community conversation. I think it would be good for us to literally solidify dates if possible, to be able to communicate this via our annual mailer. But also for us to have at the annual meeting, so folks know this is forthcoming.
Yep.
I looked at, I picked these dates based on when you've typically been available, but they don't have, we can plan meeting dates via email. That's not a violation of open meeting law. So I just wanted to highlight this for you now. I will send an email out tomorrow to engage in this conversation. If there's conflicts, we can fix the conflicts. We don't actually have to do it at the meeting tonight.
Okay.
We can do that via email. What I also added was a board retreat in September. So you'll see there's a board retreat in June and September. The board retreat in September is for you to take additional feedback that you'll gain from the community in August and September, and then be able to synthesize that down into discussion around whether or not you're ready to call a question
Yes.
on restructuring. And so you'll have a retreat in order to do that. You may say we could add another community informational meeting between September and October, which would be totally fine. You'll see that October 27th. I picked that date because if we're holding a community vote, we need to have an informational meeting within 10 days of that vote. So that's why you'll see that as October 27th. It doesn't mean you can add another additional meeting if you choose.
No, this is great to get us going down the road and with clear understanding of when things are going to happen.
In addition to just some highlights into my report, We have identified some teachers from each district that will engage in some additional professional development with our Katie Sparks, who is our EL coach. The principal and admin team have been getting training in regards to making sure that we are effective in regards to instructional leadership around EL. And so principals will be joining those teacher leaders in March for some additional training. And the idea is that we'll start to build some ambassadors and kind of like teacher leads in regards to EL and resources at the teacher ranks over the upcoming months in regards to it, just providing additional level of support and coaching around EL without the need to actually, hire a full-time literacy coach as an example. The idea being that I would rather that we have 10 literacy coaches than just one for the district or for the SU. The other thing I just wanted to highlight for you to know is that I am going to hold a drop-in virtual hybrid session for specific to RSUD and GHUD budgets in April. I'll pick a date and that will be forthcoming so that folks can ask questions about the budgets. It'll be a hybrid meeting that I'll do. If you haven't had a chance to look at the Valley News article on the Waterman campus programming, I'd encourage you to do so. And then I put a link in there. And then Michael Livingston and I were able to testify in Senate Ed just prior to their recess. That was a positive day at the State House. We successfully passed 4. We voted on 4 budgets. All were approved.
Great.
Even though the governor clearly asked for folks to vote down his budgets the night before we voted. So, so that was positive.
Great.
And so I'll take any questions folks may have.
Excellent. Any questions or comments for the superintendent? Great, well, thank you.
One other quick highlight, our new incoming business manager, Chris Lacarno, will start some transition work with me this coming Friday. The first step will be that we'll go and visit buildings and he'll get introduced to admin assistants and principals, but he'll also start some transition work in the business office. So I wanted the boards to know that that work's underway as well so that we can make certain we can hit the ground running July 1. And Tara certainly has agreed to lend her support during this transition even after July 1. So.
Great, thank you, Tara. Great. If there's no further questions for the superintendent, we'll go on to the business manager's report.
Good evening, everyone. You have my report. It outlines what's happening for reporting out of the business office during the month of March. As Jamie indicated, we had 4 of our budget votes already that have been successful. And then we're gearing up now for Rochester-Stockbridge and Granville-Hancock. And then if there's any questions, I'll happily answer. And then otherwise, I'll come back on when it's time for the budget discussion.
Okay, great. Is there any questions in regards to her report? Great. Thank you very much. Moving on to the principal's report.
Yes, so you have my report in front of you. Some highlights: we will be beginning state testing at the end of the month into April leading up. 3rd through 6th grade students will participate in math and English language arts testing, and 5th grade also participates in science testing. So all that information it's been shared with staff. They've slowly been sharing it with students, meaning they're practicing questions in class right now to get some examples and some practice, but we try to take it day by day so we don't overwhelm anybody. A couple of other highlights is our preschool registration in Rochester has been moved to April 17th due to a training that Mr. Burley's participating in March 20th on their new, it's like their preschool evaluation system. So he didn't want to miss that. The other thing that Ms. Donna mentioned is on April 13th, we have partnered with the Barn Arts and we have an all-female mariachi band coming to do a cultural and language exposure with each of our groups, and then they'll do a performance.
Great.
So that's the day of the 13th. We'll pretty much take we'll all be together over in Rochester due to the amount of space that the group needed to be able to set up. And then tomorrow, our Stockbridge students will be preparing, not tomorrow, sorry, today's Monday. Wednesday, our Stockbridge students will be preparing maple carrots as part of Farm to School and Harvest of the Month. And if you'd like to join us for lunch to taste test those on Thursday, you're more than welcome. We'd love to have you come in.
Great.
And you could also have lunch as well. I believe it's mac and cheese and broccoli and something else as well.
Oh, that's fun. That's great.
I'll take any questions folks may have.
Where is the fifth graders participating in the statewide Iron Chef competition? Is that down in South Boylston?
So there's, the statewide one is up in Essex, and I believe it's this coming weekend?
It is, it's Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Wow.
We're in the afternoon slot, I do know that much. And then there's gonna be an SU-wide one that'll be March 25th, and that'll be at Chelsea.
Okay, well, that's great.
It smells very good if you go over there in the afternoon on Wednesday.
Well, it's wonderful that they're able to participate in that.
Yeah, we've
Wonderful.
had a great time.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Lindy in regards to her report? Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lindy.
All right, we'll move on to the policy committee. Policy C37, student use of cell phones or other prohibited devices. Robin, take it away.
This has been passed, correct?
Just out of committee.
Just out of committee. So we will be voting on it in our next meeting.
Potentially, unless there's any feedback. So just so the board knows, it's required by statute that we need to adopt policy to prohibit cell phones during the student day and other prohibited devices. What you'll see here is policy around that. We were specific not to set the same criteria around procedures from school to school because we operate elementary schools and we also operate a high school as an example within the different member districts. And so how those administrative responsibilities work is that those will be developed based on what's developmentally appropriate in each district and communicated via handbooks. Example, at the high school, they may purchase yonder pouches that kids will use, like some other neighboring high schools utilize. We're not going to purchase yonder pouches at our middle school in First Branch in Chelsea. They've already created a different system where kids turn their phones in and they're locked. And so we didn't want to override what's already been implemented through procedure SU-wide. And so the procedures will be implemented at each one of the schools and communicated with families via student handbooks.
But the bottom line is you can't have your cell phone installed.
Unless you qualify for one of the exceptions that the policy does clearly articulate.
And this is something that's in our state statute.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is, based off of the model policy provided by the Agency of Education. Our district, RSU policy committee is very good at reviewing policy and wordsmithing it to make certain that it fits well for our districts. And so there were some tweaks in regards to grammatical type things, but nothing changed, significantly from the model policy in regards to intent.
Does anybody have any questions now on this policy? Okay, take your time, read through it, and if there is any questions, reach out, and then if we need to do any changes, we can move
Probably
it
would
forward.
warn this in May.
Nah. Okay. Okay, great. Let's move on to the endowment committee. So the endowment committee met on sorry, I'm just looking, the 17th, I was just looking for the warning because I need it. Here we go. Okay, the endowment committee met on the 17th. There is the minutes are in your packet, different things discussed. The endowment committee reviewed the scholarships that are available from the Rochester-Stockbridge Unified Districts, and the committee wanted to recommend to the full board that we approve $2,000 of the wing endowment as the maximum opportunity for student scholarships this year. So that is something that I'm looking for a motion for.
Moved.
And a second? I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Is this for one student or two students?
This is a max opportunity for student scholarships. So the opportunity could be for multiple students. It could be for one student, depending on qualifications and the applications. It leaves the flexibility up to the scholarship committee.
Okay.
Is there any further questions or discussion? Great, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great, so moved. Okay, so the endowment committee then also reviewed possibly contributing towards programming for the FY27 school year, and the endowment committee would like to recommend that the board use $15,000 from the Fund for Excellence to expand educational opportunities in FY27.
Moved.
Second.
Great, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions? Great,
And this would be at Lindy's discretion?
correct. Great, no more questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Okay, the last thing that was discussed was Rochester-Stockbridge Unified District contributing to the Summer Music for Kids program. And after the endowment committee reviewed the program and the students that it serves this community, it recommends to the full board that we donate $5,000 from the Kirkpatrick Fund to support this program and opportunity for music for our kids.
Moved.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just that I'm on the Summer Music for Kids. I'm the treasurer and the scribe, so I'm going to recuse myself from any voting on this.
As you did before, thank you.
And I have a kid who's excited to learn how to play some instruments. Unfortunately, he's choosing the drums at the same time.
Oh, we've got a great
For a future.
They start with the bells.
Okay.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
Electronic kits have come a long way, so that's where he'll start.
Excellent. Great, is there any other discussion? Great, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Thank you very much.
Do you have a barn?
Don't even have a garage.
So some of the new drum sets plug in and you get this. Yes. So,
Thanks, Sam.
Mufflers.
great. I'm wondering, we lose you guys at 6:30?
Yeah, let's move to the budget.
That would be great. Okay, we're going to skip over board development, we'll circle back, and we're going to move on to 8.2, the FY27 budget.
So the only change that I made to the expenditure budget was to update the state average for tuition. Everything else is the same as what you saw at your last meeting. So the overall expenditure budget,
So Tara, can you explain what that means? What line item we're looking at?
Thank you.
so it's a line item object code 562. Tuition to a private school. So when we have students that are going to a private school, the maximum the district has to pay is the state average.
Perfect, thank you very much.
So overall budget increase is $139,984, which equates to a 2.59% increase over fiscal year 26.
Yeah, 2 point, oh, that's just that line, maybe. is a 2.5% increase for the entire budget, which for the amount of healthcare increase is at 8%, and including cost of living and everything else that has gone up, inflation. Great. Does anybody have any questions or any further comments on the expenditure budget?
So,
Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Okay, you can move on, Tara.
I just,
Oh, wait, hold on, Bill. We're going to get to that tax sheet in a minute.
okay, thank you.
So on the revenue budget, I didn't make any adjustments since the last draft as far as changes to revenue. It just obviously updated the bottom line based on the expenditure budget.
Okay.
Any questions on revenue? Then we'll move on to the tax sheet. Starting in the top left corner, we'll go right through it. Budgeted expenditures, $5,536,267. We back out the offsetting revenue for local revenue of $900,366. Gives us an Act 68 education spending of $4,635,901. We divide that by the long-term weighted average of 353.16. Gives us an education spending per pupil of $13,126.92, which you can see is well below the spending threshold. We then take that education spending per pupil and we divide it by the yield. We are still using the December 1st yield because we have not received any confirmation of any adjusted yield number. So we divide that and it gives us the equalized residential tax rate of 1.4834. We then go to the Rochester box. You see there in the center, we have the equalized tax rate of 1.4834 divided by your common level of appraisal of 74.01 gives a projected homestead tax rate of 2.0044, which is an increase of 0.1809 or 9.92% over fiscal year 26. Dollar-wise, that's $180.87 per $100,000 of property. And then we give the 250 and the 500 there as well. Over in the Stockbridge box, again, right there in the center, you see the equalized tax rate of 1.4834 divided by the common level of appraisal of 76.67 gives an estimated homestead tax rate of 1.9348, an increase of 0.0669 over fiscal year 26, 3.58%. Dollar-wise per 100,000, that equates to $66.93.
The change in your tax rate prior to the implementation of the CLA, Tara shows you, is that's that equalized tax rate number. So, you know, if your CLAs were at 100% or dropping in equal manner, you'd see, you know, an increase of, you know, essentially 0.0459 or $45.90 per 100,000.
Right.
So you see the biggest difference between the two towns is the difference in the drop of the CLAs between Rochester and Stockbridge this particular year. Other years it's been opposite of that.
Yes, because you can see Rochester dropped from 78 down to 74 and Stockbridge 76 to 76 and change. So the, and I know last year Stockbridge had a bigger CLA swing than Rochester did. So it's just all in the math equation. And I also want to point out the yellow box underneath the yield box is to change the tax rate by 1 penny, we have to change $31,251 in the budget, either more revenue or less expenses, so. It helps to put that into perspective when looking at what we're looking at, so.
Tara, could you tell me the number again for the state number? 22,000, what they were allowing per pupil?
Oh, it's on her sheet.
16,407.
That's what they're, okay, that's what
That's
they're,
the spending threshold.
that's what the state is allowing.
Yes.
Well,
No.
you can go above that, but you get taxed
Right.
$2.
I know, but when I
Yeah.
write this for the thing, the little
Yeah.
blurb, I want to,
No, but I think it's important not to say it's a hard cap, because the legislature's talking about caps.
okay,
So I think we should call it the threshold,
okay.
because there is a bill called S-220 that is about hard caps.
Yeah, people are very familiar with the per pupil spending threshold.
Right, okay.
So that would be the general language.
You'll read this one really carefully before we send it out, right?
Okay, does anybody have any comments, questions? I know we've asked before, but I always like to ask, is this a budget that you feel that you can operate our schools and successfully with and provide for our kids?
Yeah, as I presented originally, this is the budget that gets us closest to meeting the class size minimum, so we're in compliance with Act 73. So I do want to recognize that that was part of our decision-making around some of the staffing pieces of that. But it does still allow us to provide strong education and opportunities for our kiddos.
And I think it's important for us to communicate with the public that reduction of the 1.0
Correct.
is not an actual reduction of anyone you have on current staff. It's the
Position.
removal of a position we couldn't fill. I think it could be easy for folks to say, well, you haven't filled a position, plus you're cutting another one. I think we need to be really clear that that's not the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We need to make a motion to accept this budget tonight?
Yes, please, if you're ready.
Yep, what's the exact, we have to do like per pupil spending or?
Nope, your motion's going to be to approve the fiscal year 2026, 2027 budget in the amount of $5,536,267.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Great. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved.
That language you're talking about will be captured on your warning
Yes.
that we should
Okay, thank
discuss
you.
next. Yep.
I knew there was some place that there was some very specific information that needed to be pulled out. Okay, so then we'll move on to the warning.
So just,
Earlier, so you had a chance to read it before tonight's meeting. The biggest changes, obviously, are the Article 8, where we have to identify the budget, but the rest of the articles are pretty much the same. Annual meeting date is May 5th, 2026 at 6 p.m.
and just to remind the board, this would allow, you'd vote on those articles 1 through 10 from the floor per your articles of agreement. And then the voting for the officers happen via Australian ballot the next day.
And this year we're at the Stockbridge campus for the annual meeting. So Article 1 is where you elect your moderator. Article 2 is to elect the school district clerk. Article 3 is your treasurer. Article 4 is to fix your salaries for the school board. Article 5 is to fix the treasurer's salary. Article 6 is the permission to have your tax anticipation note. Article 7 is where will do the presentation for the annual budget and what's been happening in the school. And then Article 8 is our actual budget article. And Amy, this is where we have to identify what the per pupil spending is and what the increase or decrease of the per pupil spending is over the prior year. So you'll see there that we have the budget that you just approved of that $5,536,267. Their per pupil spending is again that $13,126.92, which is 5.87% higher than the current per pupil spending this year. Article 9 is any other business. Article 10, we adjourn, and then the remaining language is for the Australian ballot vote the next day. And that's Article 11 to do your board. And I think I got the right ones. So we had Rochester, we have a 1 year, our director for a 3-year term. And then Stockbridge, we have the 3-year term and then the remainder of a 1-year term.
That's correct.
Yep, that's right. I did double check that.
Thank you. I sometimes get confused when we had the appointed versus voted.
Right. No, that is correct. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Yes?
I'm planning to discuss two very important things. One is the status of Act 73 and how that may impact RSUD. And the second one is the fact that we've got this extremely important restructuring task force effort underway to determine how we're going to meet the needs of our students, best needs, the students in our communities through a possible restructuring. And it seems to me both those topics, the people in the audience would be very interested in. The third thing would be, in my mind, is the budget. So this doesn't speak to that, but we normally do these things. Is that something that Amy would do at first and you and
You would do it under your reports.
under the reports?
Article 7.
Yeah.
Okay. There it goes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hear and act upon the reports.
Yep, you should cover all those
Absolutely.
topics within that presentation.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. It's good to make sure that what we want to talk about, make provisions for, so thank you.
So Patrick is still your board clerk, or the district clerk, I should say, sorry. So he will need to sign this warning before we can post it. Just a reminder on that. And we have to, we can't do it for more than 45, we can't post for more than 45 days prior to the meeting.
Right, so do we know what day that it has, like what our time window is?
I have it written down, I just gotta find it.
Yeah, okay.
My sense is he probably won't be interested in running for clerk again.
Probably not.
We could ask him. So, in regards to recruiting a clerk, I mean, their biggest job, right, is to certify election results.
That's it.
That's their primary responsibility, the district clerk.
And what about the vice chair? Tell me about that, Bill.
The vice chair?
Yeah.
It's to listen and proactively figure out and help implement where we should be going. So that's whether it's sharing information, reports, initiatives.
Extra meetings? Are there
For the
extra?
vice chair?
Yeah.
Only what the vice chair wants to take on, and it's all under the direction and supervision of Amy.
Okay.
And then it's relying on and the great cooperation we've had over the years with our superintendent and his teams. And the other thing is to help the chair so the chair doesn't have to do everything. That's really important. We want to keep our chair here as long as we can, and one way we can do that together is to pick up the load when we can. So I think we all, that's one of our roles here is, gee, what can we be doing? What about this? What about that?
Absolutely.
Thinking ahead and and the vice chair could help coordinate that. One thing I did in the past is the board development series that we started 5 years ago. By 3 years, we read 3 different books on board development and board governance, and how boards can make a difference. And I've said it 100 times, we all believe it. You need a highly functioning board if you're going to do the best you can for our students and our communities. And statistics have shown where those lackluster boards that either just want to go along or just shuffle the deck impact students, and it can impact students and our whole faculty in a negative way. So we take that very seriously, and that's a good segue to a couple of things that we're going to talk about next.
Absolutely. Just to circle back to the clerk, Patrick needs to sign the warning we just approved, but Patrick, there will be a new clerk elected at the meeting to be able to certify the vote at our annual meeting. Okay.
You elected clerk.
We will elect a clerk, and they are the one for that night to, okay, thank you.
The warning reads right now that the clerk won't take effect until July 1st. So unless you want me to change that to take effect immediately.
Let's have it, what do you guys want to do? Do you think he's going to be there?
Why don't you have it take effect immediately? That way it's,
Let's do that.
Okay.
It doesn't hold
that way we don't have to bother Patrick to do another
Yes.
thing.
Let's do that, Tara.
He's got his hands full.
Thank you. I would use the language that we use for the moderator, Tara.
Right. Okay. Great. Okay.
When does it have to be signed and posted by?
Oh, yes, you were looking, signed and posted by? I guess we can start signing at any time.
1st of March.
1st of March, okay.
That's the 45 days. So we have to
1st of
have it
April, you
posted
mean.
no later than 30, no earlier than 45.
First of
Sorry,
April.
I was fixing the language in the
Yeah,
article.
no, that's fine, so.
First day, April.
1st of April?
Yes, you'd be good with the 1st of April.
Okay, that's the 40,
That
that's
gives
the
us a
beginning of the
little
45?
No, you
Let's
can
see.
sign it even before. You can sign it
I know we can,
tonight.
yes, okay.
We just need him to date it within the 45 to 30 day.
Right, in April, right, okay. Great,
Lindy, I'm going to email it to you for printing. That change.
Then you guys can sign it tonight.
I'll
That would be
sign it tonight.
perfect.
We just need him to date it, and then we can post it.
perfect, I can try to get right in touch with them. Great. You what?
He drops off. It's
He
not
drops
hard
off,
to-
okay, we can,
It's not hard to catch him.
yes.
Did you take action to accept the warning?
Okay, yep, absolutely. All right. So I'm looking for a motion to accept the warning as amended.
Moved?
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Great, thank you, Tara. Keeping us on track.
You bet. And then do we want to talk about the mailer before I go to Jihad?
Sure, yep. You have about 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We'll move on to the preparation for the annual mailer.
So the last couple years, it's been a group effort to get the annual mailer together. Do we want to do that same process this year? I know we had some issues throughout the state of Vermont with postage and getting mail on time to places. So we're trying to get it into the printers at our earliest opportunity to make sure it gets in the hands of the voters within that 10-day window that we're required to get it to them by. We did use, for our other mailers, we've used the mail distribution center that our printer has a relationship with. In the past, you all have done your own labeling and sent them out. So just some guidance as to how you'd like to proceed this year.
I do believe that because we have two different methods of sending them, it really is best for us to do the physical mailing ourselves. We can definitely review that again, because I want to do what is the most cost efficient for time and for money. But Rochester gets sent out as bulk mail to all residents.
So does most of Stockbridge.
And so does most of Stockbridge, but there is hand labels that need to go on to some of them. And the cost of sending them out bulk, though I know some people may prefer not to get the mailer, is a lot cheaper than putting everybody's address on them. So we had talked about at one point maybe just getting everybody's address, so then only, maybe it would reduce our printing costs, but it increased our mailing cost exponentially, that it was completely cost prohibitive.
Like over $3 a book.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, I think we would continue to do it the way we've done it, if that works for everybody. I mean,
Sure.
okay.
Do we need to meet at a certain day to do that?
So last year what happened is Tara took care of all the book logistics, and then when it was ready at the printer, myself or Erica went and picked it up, I think, and then we worked closely with Jobin in the town of Rochester post office, and he helped us get it out.
Okay.
It was pretty,
We always share a copy of the book with the board.
right.
You can't discuss it as a board, but we ask people to give feedback on the book, and then we make adjustments based on feedback you provide.
Okay. But I'm sure if there's some volunteer work that needs to be done, then you will
People are interested in
definitely
being
help
appointed,
us.
the board will take you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it does go in about 3 rounds out of the post office, so it doesn't overwhelm carriers.
Yeah.
Things you learn.
Okay, but yeah, the SU office, your office has produced the book.
Yep.
And if that is still an ability of your office, we would like you to go ahead and do that again.
Perfect.
Great, thank you. And do you have deadlines for reports that need to be to you at this point, or you'll update us?
I'll send out an email.
Okay,
I was gonna say, we'll send out a reminder of what we need and when we need it by.
okay. Great, thank you. Is there anything else around the mailer that we need to discuss? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Great.
Sarah.
And we'll still have another meeting to prep for the actual meeting.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Excellent. We will not dive into the Act 73 update since you're about to leave us.
I'll just do my report though, and then I'll come back.
Okay.
So if you guys want to do board development, Tara can pretty much run the GM discussion
Have they voted on their budget yet?
tonight.
Okay, right, they're the same thing, so, okay. Great, thank you very much. Well, then we will circle back to 8.1.
We'll get the warning.
Oh, yes, please do. The board development. And we've provided our goals. Where is it? Towards the very end. Our goals in this packet, and I'd like to go ahead and let Bill lead the way.
Okay, going back to 2021, the RSUD board did a number of things. One was to reconfirm what our vision was, to our mission statement, and then establish measurable, important, and doable goals that reflect the core of what we want to achieve for the year. And we've done that since then every year. In the fall, we've looked at vision and mission, but primarily at the goals, what we're going on. First, we evaluate how we did with our goals the prior fiscal year that ends on June 30th. And then in the fall of the next year, we vote on our goals going forward. It's a very important process. It's one that we tap in on when we have our retreats. And this is another opportunity for the board just to say, I'm not sure about whether we're going to reach this, or what do we mean by that? And so tonight we're going to be doing a little bit of that. And talking about goals, our board goals traditionally have 6 elements. You know, those of you that are not familiar with it, you can go online and look at our RSUD board on the website, and you'll see our goals laid out, and you'll also see our governance principles and operating protocols. But first on the goals, academic and social emotional achievement. We talk about financial management, capital facilities, planning, and a big part of that strategic planning we talked about earlier, which was having the task force looking ahead of where we should be going academically with RSUD and the process of how to get that community engagement and come up with the best formula that can serve the kids in our communities. Very important. We have 5th is communications, community involvement, and connections. And the 6th was board governance. So I just wanted to ask if any fellow board member have a question or concern about where we're at on these 6 goals that we committed ourselves to on November 3rd, 2025. Just a couple of things I'll have on one is on meeting or exceeding academic and social emotional goals. We've had a lot of reporting done timely on a quarterly basis, provided both on the academic side and the social emotional side. And we're making meaningful progress. What's a little confusing is that the state has a VCAP end of the year measurement of our academic performances, and those results there are different than the way we monitor 4 different times a year, besides just the state. So it's less than clear where we're at. If you wanted to average the 2, I don't recommend that, but it's still, personally, I think that the VCAP program still needs to be tweaked by the state AOE to get a true measure of student performance. If you look at Track My Progress, which is what we use, and goes to the teachers and as a blueprint of where they need to move ahead 4 times a year, that's the results there are very, very, very strong. Under financial management, we'll see. We always ask superintendent, our principal, do we have the financial resources to get the job done? And they've committed themselves, yes, that they do. But the ultimate decision will be made by the voters on May 5th when they vote our budget. We continue to review the capital facilities, and we'll be doing that before the end of the year. Under planning, I mentioned before, the task force looking at what's the best repurposing strategy for our communities and our kids, and that's going to be I can't think of anything more important that's going to take us. We've all been thinking about it, but moving together with the community this summer and the fall. Community involvement and connections, communications, I think have strengthened through the thanks of a number of people on the board and in this room. And board governance, we've had a retreat. I don't know whether we had, Amy, a second retreat planned during the fiscal year, or we're going to roll that forward to, or back for,
I guess it
because
will.
we're having a retreat.
I guess in June will indeed be the next fiscal year, if you.
But I don't want to take anything. Does any board member want to comment on any of the goals and progress so far?
I was wondering how we were going to do some outreach to homeschool communities. I'm not sure how we did, if we did that one.
No, I mean, at least, because I think that was part of my task that was given, and haven't followed up with Jamie in regards to plan to engage, but I think that was part of my board development. It's in my corner, so I will follow up and reach out to the superintendent and how to fall through with that commitment.
Yeah.
And that's something we can roll over to continue that
Right.
for the next fiscal year.
Do we get to count I know we used to be able to. Do we still get to count homeschoolers if they come in for like gym or art?
Yes, you get like a,
Or science?
you can get up to 0.6
0.6?
a person, yeah.
So we also
Depending on our
need to put that out there so we can maybe get some homeschoolers in for specials or,
Right, we have in the
Science and-
past, it kind of ebbs and flows. We've had some kiddo, this year we have a couple who come in for specials and even literacy block. Yes, literacy block. So just kind of depends on the year. Some will come and ask, like they'll hear about programming. What I've learned and will share is some will reach out asking to engage, and we always want folks to come and participate, but they do have to be registered with the state of Vermont as part of the homeschool program, and some of these, that's not always happening. That's the way I'm gonna word it, because I get a list every month of who's registered and who's not. So
is that legal?
I'm not sure who's checking it, but I can't let them, I don't know who like crosses over that list, right? I can't let them enroll as only a part-time student when legally they're supposed to be in school. If they're not as part of a homeschool, then like attendance and truancy could count against them.
Right, of
So
course.
it's like a multifaceted thing. So I do think we have some families we know about and some families that I'll be like, where does that, person fall? So it's not legal to answer your question. I'm just not sure who has the like oversight. I think since COVID, they've tried to tighten it up more and more, and I don't know
I think
how
there's a
far. And they
woman in
being-
Killington that actually has that job for the state, but I'm not the person to reach out to.
Yeah. So that's one example that's popped up this year that was like
Okay.
new to me.
That is
like,
interesting.
you're
It is a
right.
barrier.
It is a barrier. And I don't know if it's a barrier about filling out. Sometimes homeschool families like to start their timeline of a year different than we do a school calendar. So it's all, I've learned a lot.
Great
Thank you.
question.
I just,
No, it's a great question.
it could be more kids, it could be more numbers.
Could be more kids, right? Like happy to include them in different things that they're interested in.
It's great for communities, yeah.
Yes.
And then the second one, I think, connected to that, and again, my task was Pittsfield outreach.
Oh, yes.
That has yet to take place, so again, sorry for dropping the ball on that.
Well, it is a really tough climate right now with Act 73 and what is happening with all the different districts, especially a non-operating district.
But I'll follow up with Jamie and see in regards
Yeah.
to
Okay.
direction from him.
Okay, and don't be afraid to reach out to the rest of your board if you
Oh, yeah.
need some help.
Sure, thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
And don't hold on to my Catholic guilt.
Because signing up for a task doesn't always mean that you have to be the one to complete the task from start to finish. It just
Okay.
means that you're going to get the task moving and help
Okay.
keep it going.
Thank you.
That's the team effort here.
And you've had to travel and all sorts of other stuff.
Yes.
The other thing, board governance is our board governance principles and operating protocols. This was developed and voted in December of 2021. We've reviewed it every year, and with some minor tweaks that remain sound. The principles are the kind of the overarching guidance of why and we exist and what we're all about. And then we have 11 protocols of how we conduct our business as a board. And that's very important because boards aren't well organized and structured, and people don't understand what their expectations are. You can either waste a lot of time or get embroiled in issues that are better handled if it's handled according to a clear protocol. And so we have those. A copy of those is on our website as well. A number of SU boards, I believe, have adopted their own. But each year we review these again and pledge ourselves to follow these protocols and
And we evaluate how we're doing. And we evaluate how we're doing.
And we also thank you because, Robin, we have a online survey that the board takes each year, and we score on each one of these things, how we're doing, both on the goals and on the protocols. So, and we always can do better. We never hit 1,000. Who cares? What cares is that we're aware and we're trying to do our best. And ultimately, and I only can speak for myself, but this board is really up there as far as commitment and skill and taking seriously what we're all about. So I don't know if anybody has anything to say about this, but there will be an opportunity this fall to as Robin said, actually score ourselves on this. So that's it. Amy, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. It is good to remind us what some of these governing rules and principles we want to conduct ourselves by. Thank you, Bill. And again, thank you for all your hard work towards getting this created and move forward. Thank you.
I can go get him, you guys sign.
Sure. Next is going to be Act 73 updates. And there is the warning to sign. Yes, there's a nice black pen being provided.
Thank you.
This is what will be printed in the book, so do however signature you want to be shown as your signature in the book.
So no chicken scratch.
You can, again, whatever you want people to see. I don't say people have to go fancy, but just know
It'll be out there.
know it'll be out there 1,000 times. Yes, he is in Florida, but he will be back. We'll probably give it to Lindy and have her hold on to it. He should be back. He'll be back on Wednesday, so.
The pictures of the kids as a 100-year-old in the hallway is so weird. Can you tell which one's Ian?
We're missing Robert, because he's in Florida. He will be back. I'm sorry.
All right, so Act 73 updates. I mean, the legislature's been on a town meeting break for the last week. So they're connecting with lots of constituents, just like Senator Hardy did, and I know other elected officials have across the SU in regards to representatives and senators, including Kirk White. I know he's been at some town meetings, and John O'Brien was certainly at Tunbridge, and Representative Holcomb and Maslin went to the Sharon annual meeting. And so, I think the next 4 days will give us some type of a sense whether there's going to be any momentum to get a map even out of either of the committees.
Okay.
And then we'll get a sense from there in regards to, will there be any type of support to get a map across, through crossover. I mean, one of the things Senator Hardy said that was that, you know, that these maps need to come out over the next week. I know that the House and Senate ed chairs have agreed to delay crossover, meaning that they can make a decision not to have to, yeah, they did it last year. And would have had, you know, the leadership meeting Senate pro tem and speaker support. I mean, one of the things we still combat is that there is a willingness in regards to leadership in the House and the Senate, meaning the Senate pro tem and the Speaker of the House, to try to get maps. They've said that publicly, and it's not just public, like you can see them trying to work that. That is why the two chairs had to introduce maps, is that there's a desire by leadership to have maps, at least discussed. So the governor certainly wants a map.
Right.
And every action that he is doing right now indicates that, including the AOE releasing inaccurate data in regards to, you know, targeted school supports around data that dates back to 2017. I mean, that was all, frankly, a political stunt to try to make schools look bad, to have budgets go down. So, you know, you have to read the fact that the administration is trying everything within their power to try to get a map through. The thing that we have to be highly aware of and alerted to is that the Republicans will probably more likely than not coalesce behind what the governor wants. And what we have to worry about is some type of map getting through that has minority Democrat support, but all the Republicans lining behind it. So I just, you know, say to the board and to community members sitting here tonight, that's just something we have to be highly aware of, is that you could have a map that only had 22 Democrats in the House supporting it and all the Republicans in pass. Right? Or you could have 6 Democratic senators and the rest of the Republican senators in pass. And so just because the Democrats have a majority doesn't mean that they might not pass something that has full Republican support and minority Democratic support. And that is what I think is challenging for us as an SU, is that could certainly go that way, where a map passed that way that had just SDs, or has SUs that maybe people don't like the boundaries of. What I would say is that best case scenario is the maps don't get out and we get back talking about seesaws and voluntary mergers and leveraging S220. And if you haven't had a chance to read my testimony, that is what I laid out as a 4-point plan. I'm going to be on former Lieutenant Governor Zuckerman's show on WDEV on Thursday. I'm going to focus on that.
Time's that?
That will be at 10. But to be determined, right? Like, what happens? I mean, my sense is that the Senate map will get out of committee, and I say that to you because the 3 Republicans will support it and the chair introduced it. So right there, it's out of committee. And so and it's got SUs, and you know, so I don't know where the other 2 senators will be in regards to whether they'll support it or not. They certainly, Senator Hashim has indicated that an SU map is the only thing he'll support. So whether he'll support a map coming out or not, I don't know yet. The elephant in the room in regards to the SU map is, and it's not really an elephant anymore, I think people have at this point realized the debate around it, is that the SU maps are seen as only supporting independent schools. And what I will say to you is that they also support rural schools, because it gives your district the ability to decide whether you want to close your school or not. And so Example, White River Unified District is a pre-K through 12 operating district. In RSU, they want an SU because they don't want to be forced merged with another K-12 district and have that larger K-12 district close their high school.
Yeah.
So it's not just about choice or independence. There's lots of SUs, people that support SUs, that also operate all the way through 12th grade. So I plan to be really clear about that in my in regards to my opportunity to have an hour on the radio on Thursday, is that I don't appreciate SUs being labeled as just places that support choice and even furthermore just support independent schools. There is a way to deal with independent schools. It's called rule making.
Right.
You can do that without having to create SDs for everybody. I will also say that Chair Conlon has been clear, and in the House, if you watch him talk about that these larger SDs will make it easier to close schools.
Right.
And so what I am trying to say to folks is that you can get at your concerns around independent schools, around rulemaking. Don't close my smaller schools or what you consider versus this proposal smaller high school, even though it's a Division III high school that, has up, we're pushing closer to 300 kids, 9 through 12. Don't close that in order to get at the last 14 independent schools. And so
That's all there is in the state of Vermont, is 14?
There's 18, but they're not going to take away the 4 historical academies. I will bet my house on it. And so there's just not going to be a will in the legislature to do that.
Okay.
And so, or the governor won't sign a bill that does that. And so what we will need to do is just kind of wait and see how the next few days play out and then be prepared to react accordingly. I mean, there's a long road here. I don't actually expect any map to get voted on until next week, meaning coming even out of committee.
Okay.
And then they'll bring it to the floor.
Jamie, I watched your testimony, and I watched you seemingly convinced, was it a Senate committee, or was it
Senate, yeah.
Yeah, a senator who was like all over you in the beginning, like you turned her around as you were talking. She seemed to listen to you, because she had ideas that we were the most expensive and that we weren't, and you had really good arguments to prove her wrong, that actually, no, we were better performing and cost less than a lot of the bigger districts.
Thanks. Your time out, Senator Roms Hinsdale?
I think,
Yeah.
there was someone who was really going after you in the beginning.
Well, and, the Republican Senator Vice Chair Weeks keeps talking about you can have a larger district board and you have these smaller district boards underneath it. And
What's the difference then?
I said to him, that's an SU senator. I mean, that is a supervisory union.
Right.
You have a full board that does some work at the full board level, and then you have district boards that still control their local schools and their districts. And so what I will say to you is I am not sold on this notion of advisory councils. There's going to have little teeth in regards to the legality around what their actual ability is going to be. And so I get really concerned when I hear things like that. There was a lot of talk about stuff like that during Act 46, right?
Right.
There's going to be this advisory committee at this school, and how many of those advisory committees still exist across the state? Not many.
None.
Yeah, none that I know of.
Right.
But, and so, I think the thing that I am most concerned about is that the governor has, I mean, we knew when we had an appointed Secretary of Ed that it was going to politicize the position. Our current Secretary of Ed is politicized.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really concerning for me. And I think what I am most concerned about right now is that there is a real desire and will by the governor to make this happen. And I would say to you, if it doesn't happen this session and he's reelected and we don't have any announcement really thus far around a Democratic competitor, that we will be sitting here having the same exact conversation again next year. Unless there's a real tide that turns in regards to folks voting in November to send a message to our governor and elected officials that you don't want people having their hands on your schools. And that is the only thing I see changing the momentum around doing something.
Question, just something that caught me off guard. You had mentioned it first, I heard you say it at the cafe, and then also Ruth had said it, that the class size minimums and isn't really, people aren't concerned about the minimums. Classroom sizes in elementary schools aren't what they're focusing on closing, where it was like, kind of like threw me for a tailspin.
So when I say I don't think I think the governor knows that is not a winning formula. This is all politics,
Yeah.
Josh, right? And so, and he's a political animal. And so he knows it is not politically savvy to go around saying he's going to have his secretary close elementary schools. I'm incredibly concerned about class size minimums at middle and high school.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we need to not be paying attention to it at elementary. I think there's less of an appetite with the administration to close elementary schools. There is certainly an appetite to close middle and high schools.
But if they go to SDs and you have another, like, we have Randolph making our decisions, they can decide to close our smaller schools if they go to that kind of situation. So it wouldn't be on the governor's head, it would be on a board somewhere else.
Right.
Well, certainly within the SD model, yes. And I mean, I would even say to you, like, not even just Randolph, I worry about even an SUR size, right? Like, I don't think Sharon knows what's best for Rochester.
Right.
I think over time we've built relationships so they would listen, but we've had to work really hard to do that. And so, but I still think when there's tough budget conversations, I worry about that. And so, yeah, I think it becomes that you're just making decisions based on dollars and numbers and not about looking forward to what is that actual impact on the local community.
Right.
I mean, I think the debate we're actually having is about what do we want the future state of Vermont to look like? Do we want to have ghost towns that are made up of second homes? Or do we want to have towns that have a vibrant community, right, that encourages families to move in and have their kids attend school? And that is the conversation we ought to be having as a state. The idea that I would move my family to Roxbury right now would not be an option for me.
Right.
I would not want my kid on a bus from Roxbury to Montpelier, period. And I don't know many families that have school-age kids that would want their kid on a bus from Roxbury to Montpelier.
I lived in Plymouth, and when they took away the school, it kind of took away, that was the hub for the community. It took it away.
And why I brought up Sharon is I live in Calais. We just had a vote to close our school. We chose to keep it open. We in Calais did. I will tell you, I'm not certain Berlin would have kept Calais open.
Right.
And we've been operating together in an SU and an SD since U32 was created.
Because it comes down to dollars.
Yes. And it's important to note that in these new SDs, we lose articles of agreement, which would mean that Calais will no longer get to have a vote to close their school, just like you right now are provided a vote to close your schools. That these maps, if created with SDs, the prior articles of agreement get thrown out. So those, any other questions, thoughts? I will give you updates. I think the proof's going to be really in the pudding over the next few days. I think you're going to see them focus on their actual maps and proposals and actually have discussion as a committee, it won't be like testifying time, right? Like they're gonna need to see, is there any momentum for them to get something out or not?
Jamie, those advisory panels, are they like just money? If that's their dollar and cents panels, or are they supposed to?
They're really conceptual still. They haven't cemented what their role will be in law yet. That's something they'll need to do.
So tired of people who are not trained to be in education, making decisions about education.
Yeah. Should be a prerequisite.
That's my 2 cents.
Here's the good news, though.
Thank you. It's good
Real quick,
sense.
here's what I do believe the good news is. We're sitting here having this conversation saying we don't know if a map will get out of committee or get it crossed. And a year ago, this was a runaway train.
Right.
And so that's good news. The other good news is it appears to me the VSA is going to back off a map and just talk about some policy proposal. That's good news. I wasn't able to make the VSA meeting today, but that gives me some hope because, you know, the VSA was supporting a map.
Yes.
Superintendent's Association.
The VPA was supporting a map. The VSBA has been much more nuanced around their testimony this year. And frankly, I think that's because of what you all did as board members of pulling out, provided a wake-up call for the Vermont School Boards Association. They also have to recognize and testify based on all members of their organization, not just based on what I would say is some of the larger members.
Right.
Is the Vermont School Board Association going to be parroting what the Superintendent's Association is doing and possibly backing off, or are they already backed
I
off?
was just saying, Bill, they've sort of backed off this whole session. They have not come out nearly as supportive. They'll still note that they prefer SDs, but they say preferred, right? Before their testimony was SDs.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I did, y'all. I never get tired of thanking you, your team, and what the Rural School Community Alliance has done to fight for Vermont's future.
The RSCA has been quiet. Some folks on the steering committee took some time over the last week to kind of recharge, but that group is, I know, ready to ramp up this week. We're also, you can't ramp up if you don't know what you're ramping up about, right? And so we're really waiting to get a lay of the land this week, and then they'll make some strategic plans from that.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that update. Doesn't leave us on a high note, but thank you for the information, and we definitely look forward to reading in the coming days what happens. And, does anybody else have any further questions on Act 73 updates?
I mean, I would just say that I think we will have, if we are able to survive without needing to move forward with a map and get seesaws in place, of which, by the way, I think is where all the savings, a majority of the savings is, unless you're just going to unilaterally start closing a bunch of schools. Right, meaning district boards unilaterally closing schools, larger districts, is because if you look at what is really increasing significantly year over year in the ed fund in regards to the expenditures, it is all interconnected to special education and social emotional supports. Like that is the major increase in regards to FTEs. And so, starting within the pandemic and moving forward. And so that is where I think some regional approaches around to how to best support students collaboratively, specifically around social emotional supports in intensive special ed. We could see much better results for our kids, but also some major savings in regards to efficiency. It is why, and this is one thing, every time I've testified, I cannot get any traction. I keep saying you have to then take the seesaws and create interagency collaboration in regards to our Department of Health and Human Services. So when you draw these seesaw maps, you should say regionally, we're also going to reconfigure the Department of Health and Human Service regions so that you have a region, meaning like example, Claire Martin, right, is our local catchment area here for RSU until Addison County. But you would say, example, a Claire Martin would then support that seesaw. So that that whole area and those districts or SUs that made up in that area work together with the one agency, that we're not working across multiple agencies, right? And that's where you could start to create better programming for kids and wraparound services for families and really see that start to pay off as a state.
And save money.
Not that that seesaw is going to work with Washington County Mental Health and Claire Martin Services and Addison County, right? Like, or if it went up to Lamoille and Laraway, like that is ridiculous. We ought to coordinate those efforts at the same time.
Makes sense.
And just know, I mean, our Secretary of Ed and Governor don't support seesaw, so I don't, that it will be an uphill battle too in regards to trying to get that through because they see it as another level of bureaucracy is what the Secretary have said.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the update. Is there any new hires or resignations?
None at this time.
Great. All right, we have,
When do contracts go out?
April.
April 1st is the goal. We did reach a tentative agreement for the support staff CBA, so I'll look to try to get that ratified later this month in a wagon wheel meeting, possibly on the SU night. That's how we've done it in the past. The SU board ratifies, then we do you guys in breakouts.
yeah.
And so that will let me get the new contracts out for support staff on April 1st too. Great.
Excellent. Public comment. Yes.
Hi, I have a question on Act 73. Actually, I have a question on RSCA. I am curious if RSCA has any representation of independent schools within its organization, if you know.
Not that I know of, but I can ask that specifically to the steering committee, but I don't believe so.
Okay. Feedback I got from people in Montpelier was that RSCA as a legislative body is often linked with independent schools because they are both fighting for school choice. And often their testimony is taken in conjunction with independent schools and therefore kind of seen as supportive of independent schools rather than school choice for a rural community like ours where it's a necessity rather than a privilege. And so that's just feedback that I've heard about RSCA's.
I would actually say I think the legislature has labeled your superintendent as that.
Supportability.
Yeah, I mean, I think when they're saying RSCA, they're saying me, to be honest with you.
But you're not saying that.
I'm not saying that, but I believe I have been the superintendent that I have testified the most out of superintendents in the state, and I have been clear about the importance of school choice. So I think that I have been given that label, of which I need to refute on Thursday and help the RSCA refute that. Yeah.
Another, just, sorry. So there's no association then with public support of independent schools coming out of the RSCA?
No,
Okay.
we support choice.
Okay. And then another question I had about the map proposal is I've heard that there are other versions already in the works that are going to come up after this, and that this is kind of like the first show that will obviously not go, and then there will be like the next versions of it. So I'm just curious if that's...
I have not heard that.
Okay.
I can see where people would think that. Jamie, have not had any indication of that, but all the different reps that I talk to that represent WRVSU and or from the RSCA lobbyists and or their steering committee.
Okay.
It seems to me that there's a real, I thought at some point, because the House came out early, that they may introduce another version of the map. Thus far, I haven't seen it. I did see during one of the House Ed conversations that Representative Harple, Deanne Harple, who represents up in Orleans County, did have a map, and she did wave it around at one point and talked about her map. I would assume, this is just an assumption, I have not seen it, that that would be a hybrid SUSD map, because she has indicated she is pro-SU.
And then, does anyone else have questions about Act 73? In terms of crossover week and your recommendation for people, it's just to continue emailing and continue like hammering away at the talking points that we've all talked about already. Yeah.
Yeah, and emphasize seesaws. Like they don't talk about them much anymore, right?
Yeah.
And I do think if we're serious about getting better outcomes for kids and actual savings, that there can be some there. But we had a task force that did a lot of work over several months and said, we can't just draw lines on the map. And I believe full well they went in prepared to do their job. They realized it's just not a simple task. And so that's why they came up with the report they did. But that report does not seem to be getting taken very seriously at this point. I thought it was early on, and the momentum swung away from it. I do actually think, and I am speaking as a superintendent, as a member of the VSA, that the VSA and VPA gave too much breadth for maps. And I have shared that with my colleagues. I have been very vocal about this with my colleagues. I don't agree with it. I think it was a misstep. But those organizations did it. And then all of a sudden we got maps back on the table.
Great, does anybody else have? Let me just make sure nobody else has any. Yes, please.
So is it okay to ask budget questions?
Yes,
Like specifics
absolutely.
about the budget, or I can
It's
email
about anything
directly?
in the,
Yeah, it's
that
in
we
the
can
packet.
discuss
So
today.
just looking at a couple of line items in the budget in an attempt to understand. I know you guys already mentioned the one FTE that's under teachers, but
Yes.
that you couldn't fill that position, or it's not filled yet. Could somebody
Yep.
speak to that a bit more?
Yeah, so it wasn't filled over the summer or during the higher months. It still hasn't been filled. So it's been the way we're operating is that's where like Donna is teaching a section of 4th and 5th grade literacy, because our upper grades rotate between content teachers.
So it's an upper elementary position at Rochester that we've continued to advertise for, that we have not been able to fill. As we looked at class size minimums specific to Rochester, it made sense to not fill that position in order to try to be in compliance with the minimum class sizes. So Lindy continues to advertise right now. If we could hire someone and wanted to be a long-term sub the rest of this year, we'd hire them. But that is the FTE.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, no.
Did you have another line?
Yeah, I have a couple. Is that,
Yeah,
keep
go
going,
for
they're
it.
all on budget line
Yeah,
items,
yep,
so.
no, that's helpful.
The world languages budget that I think at some point I heard came out of the principal's budget and got moved into that's $9,000 or $10,000, I can't remember, but what is that going for in terms of like educating our kids?
Yep, so in previous years, we have advertised for a .2 world language, because that's about what it covered. And we partnered with several schools, 3 other schools at one point, for that person. So instead, what we've done is moved it to the equivalent of that .2. And for example, that'll pay for different artists in residencies that'll come in and bring different cultural experiences. And so that Barn Arts group that is coming in April 13th, that's where some of that will pay.
So historically, over the last number of years, we've strived to have a world languages teacher. And we've many years we have looked for one and advertised for one. And unfortunately, nobody's been able to fill that position, so we've now moved it into to be able to try to bring cultural experiences and languages into the school in more of an artist in residence type of community way.
in lieu of having an actual teacher.
And we've advertised it both as part-time, but also as 1.0, because I've also been searching for the middle school in Bethel. So it would have been
It's
not
definitely
a bad
short.
shared position across your district and White River Unified District.
Yeah.
But world language in general, what I've realized is I've recently gone on the New England School District, the New England School Development Council, which is made up of superintendents across New England. And what I was surprised, I thought this was just a Vermont issue around finding world language teachers. What a colleague from Rhode Island said is that it seems to be a bigger issue. Like they said in Rhode Island, they're struggling to find world language, which was an eye-opener to me because I thought it was more just, is it us issue? Maybe it's a Vermont issue, but it seems like world language is an issue in general.
So it's definitely something that this board wants to provide world languages and cultural experiences to our kids, and we want to get them there any way we can. So sometimes we have to move a line item for a year or two. And did you have another budget?
Yeah, I think just sort of a general understanding of the larger buckets of the budget and trends over time, particularly post-COVID. Can anyone speak to how the RSUD budget buckets have been reapportioned in terms of like general classroom education compared to, and I don't even know if they're in separate buckets, so forgive me, I haven't looked that closely, but like SPED versus behavioral interventions, and just trying to get a sense of kind of how we're allocating our money and our resources, in the past few years. If there are any patterns that jump out.
I mean, in regards to your district, I would say one of the buckets that you can see that came out of the pandemic is the contracted services line with Claire Martin Center. That is to provide a behavioral specialist and a school-based clinician that works with kids across both campuses. And so that is an area that we did increase last year due to what we realized was some more significant needs in regards to the district.
And as a parent of a child who sees people from Claire Martin Center, every kid in the school wants to see this person, like whether they need to or not.
Most popular person.
Yeah. So, and I have friends in Rochester who their kids, work wonders through that program. So I'm appreciative of that.
Great, thank you. It's nice to hear that feedback.
Yeah.
And then also, just because you mentioned earlier the Waterman campus, I did read the article and just to learn a bit more, but how is that campus budgeted? Because I also heard you comment under testimony that, there are cost savings for using that as a model or an approach versus like outsourcing it, for lack of a better term.
So the special ed budget within the supervisory union is held at the SU level. So when I talk about these seesaws, one of the things I've tried to get people to wrap their heads around is like SUs almost operate like a small seesaw, collaborative educational service area. And so special education is all contracted, meaning the employees at the supervisory union level. And then districts are assessed out based on their average daily membership. It's not a dollar-to-dollar cost. Like we don't, and so, in general, the more we can work together and create better collaboratives across the SU to do things like the Waterman campus, which is housed at the SU building, you will all see savings in that cost. Now the SU budget is up. You'll see your SU assessment is up some in the book in regards to special ed, but as compared to that increase statewide, we have been well under it year after year. Okay. A good example is if you could look up right now, there's a district at SU just to the north of us, and if you were to look at their special ed budget, and I can give you this data, I'm happy to share it with you.
Sure.
They spend $3 million more for 800 less students than we do. And if you look, a big chunk of that is you would see it around out-of-district placements. They have not built internal capacity where we have. So for about a decade now, this SU had built some programming at the Royalton and Bethel schools to provide some supports for kids across the SU that needed some behavioral supports. The Waterman campus is trying to hit a population that was more in regards to just internalizing behaviors, not like major explosive externalizing. And we do have a couple students that access the Waterman campus that would present that way. And we intentionally, though, didn't want it to all be the same. Sure. And so what you'll see is that kids that were at really high risk due to chronic absenteeism of dropping out. And so our next phase of building more specialized programming is specific to students who would have a disability category in regards to the autism spectrum. And also what we're finding is really low incident disabilities in regards to needing some more specialized programming, who may have some more global cognitive delays, or have low incident disabilities that we need to do a better job, I think, because there's just wait lists for these programs too, right? And so if we want to create inclusive learning environments, what we're learning is we just need to build it. Now, again, I would rather build it regionally, not at just our level, but until we can get this into place, these are our kids, we gotta educate them, so we're building it.
Yeah, and the initiative this year, particular initiative on absenteeism, the progress you made, if the kids are not in school, how are they gonna learn? And then if they're back in the classroom and everybody's ahead of them, how do they not act up or just don't know how to cope and that sort of things? And the nice thing about this SU is the statistics that are provided, the measurements. So it's not feeling good, it's feeling good when the numbers show it, and the breadth of that. And one of them is the results so far of this fiscal year on absenteeism. And that reverberates in the classroom, in homes, scores, you name it. I mean, it's just, that's the exciting thing we've built here, and we need to continue together to build it even stronger.
You can't academically intervene your way if a student's missing 2 days a week, right? Like, if we want to improve academics and fill achievement gaps, I need them in intervention 5 days a week, right? If they're missing every third day, and I don't care how great the interventionist is, we're not going to close the academic gap. So we really looked at students receiving intervention, and then the attendance data and said, whoa, we've done a really good job of training folks up and trying to get intervention happening with fidelity, but if 60% of the students we're intervening with academically are also missing school, that isn't going to work. Like, we got to address this, and so that's why we've changed. And we're still doing this, but we really pivoted our focus to we need to get our kids here.
And to send a kid out of placement could be double or triple what we have for pupil cost.
I wrote that somewhere, yeah. It's mind-boggling the expense that it costs to go elsewhere for that. So thanks for the answer and just the good discussion and feedback from you folks about it. That's great. Is it okay if I do one more and it'll be quick? Absolutely. So I was just looking at the roadmap, and I like what's outlined here and think that's a good process, but just wanted to understand a bit more about the first date in May 20th, the desired outcome of gaining community perspective and ideation, and like how that's going to be solicited and captured, at what that looks like. And then two-part question, if it's okay. The second one is there's a board retreat, and to quantify a couple of ideas that would move forward. So I'm just curious about kind of like a little bit more fleshed out process for what that actually means, but also I'm really interested in how I or we as a parent or a family can be most involved and participate fully in that, and just also around sort of like our own planning, so we can make sure, do we need to actually be here to, is it going to be a vote, or are we going to, just show up here and advocate, loudly and vehemently, or what does that look like? Or maybe you guys don't know and will let us know. It's fine too.
Well, I think there will be surveys as well, but there was a bunch of surveying done via the community engagement task force that we had. So we have some data that we can start a conversation with. My plan is for us to find a consultant and community facilitator that has a background in engaging specifically in this type of work for districts. Haven't solidified someone yet. And so they will help us finish putting all the teeth on this plan, but I wanted to make certain the board had a good sense of a plan and agreement with it, so that then when we go to start meeting and talking with facilitators, I can say, react to this and see, are you willing to engage in this type of timeline and commit to it?
And if we don't see what we would like to have happen represented among what comes out in the very beginning, is there still an opportunity to inform the process, or did we miss the boat because there were surveys, disseminated from the board task force?
In this timeline, I don't want to speak for the board, they won't even quantify something until the fall. So yes, there will be plenty of opportunity between spring to fall to continue to give feedback. If you look at the timeline, they won't quantify something until September. So they'll take that initial feedback and try to create, based on what they heard, some proposals to get further community reaction to. Doesn't mean at that community engagement that something couldn't change.
And just like, I will just commend you guys too for being very on top of what's happening in the legislature, because it does seem, as we're all aware, like it can evolve pretty rapidly, especially crossover, and what we see in the next couple of weeks can be pretty important. And I would say that matters for us too, as we're following it, and informs what we may or may not think of as a path forward, particularly for our daughter, what we would advocate for as a family. So just know that we're here and involved in this and are doing our due diligence as well. Thanks for answering the questions. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely, definitely appreciate your feedback, and we love to hear, from individuals in our towns. Yes?
I have another totally different question. In regards to contracts, Lindy, do you know what Miss Milligan and Mr. Hurley, were they hired for 1 year? Are they staying? Does anybody know?
They'll get offered a contract.
They'll be offered a contract.
But so it was a 1 year contract.
That's the way a
They're
teaching
always 1 year
contract
contracts.
Okay.
works, is a 1 year. It's always a 1 year contract.
Okay. Great.
Sorry.
Well, I just know that that position has been really hard to fill and comes and goes.
Right.
Particularly the 4, 5, 6 teacher, and so I was just, I am enjoying both of those teachers and think they're doing great things for our school. My son will disagree because he had to learn all of the spelling of the states, but we studied every day for 3 weeks, and he was one of 2 people that passed that.
You did a great job.
Out of 15 kids, so having a mom who's a hard ass actually helps.
I think we expect them to return. I haven't heard different, but email them and let them know you appreciate them.
Yes, absolutely. I just
They
wanted to,
enjoy being part of our school community.
right, I just
And
wanted to put
normally
that
I
out there
have
for the
a
board as well, to hear, like, the other teachers have, with Miss Colton here, like, there's a good constant there, and I just would love to have them be a good constant in our school if we have that.
That is my choice as well.
Absolutely.
I
Okay.
agree with you.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think, first and foremost, it's great that you're all here. And I think what's important as we move forward is having that grassroots or base level input from all of you in your interaction with other people in the community. And that's how we will go about formulating our suggestions to the superintendent, to Lindy, to work on budgetary plans and how all that progresses. So continue to encourage people to be involved in the process and to speak opinions and continue to move forward, because that's how we direct our efforts. And so I'm glad you're in attendance.
Yeah, I agree.
Just piggybacking on that really quickly, I do think that I think as people are advocating for the schools and they're having these conversations, the sooner the board can address academic. I know that test scores are not representative of what's happening in the classrooms, and I know all that, but there is like a base level concern about that, and I think that the sooner that can be talked about publicly, the better, whether it's like a coffee and conversation about academic testing or, the board has something specific to say. I understand that scores are not representative of the learning that's happening on the ground, but it is concerning to people. So just putting that out there as a call to action for the board.
Great, thank you all. Okay, is there any other public comment?
We're so excited to have so many people.
Okay, well then, our next regular meeting is going to be Monday, April 6th at the 5:30 at the Rochester campus. Is there any future agenda items that need to be brought to?
Just,
When is the wagon?
can I take a straw poll of how many of you would be available on Tuesday? What is that, March 20, just pull my phone, Jane.
24th. that's
Is that
our-
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or the
Yeah.
31st.
March 24th?
That's when the next full
Yeah.
SU was.
How many of you could jump on a meeting that night at 6? My plan is to kind of have that SU meeting be focused on the CBA and like reviewing it, and so that all board members hear that at once.
Yep. Okay.
Have the full board take action, and then we break off into district boards to ratify the contract all that night.
Okay.
So yes?
Yes, that's good for me.
We're already there, right?
Yeah, that's issue.
All right, cool.
So does that mean, will we still have another meeting in April 6th? And that will be,
Yep.
will that be partially focused on the annual meeting, or will that be additional?
Annual meeting, I don't have our SU-wide calendar. I don't think there's any academic data reports or social emotional that month.
Okay.
That
Nothing
comes
until
in
June, because we're in BT cap testing.
Because of VTCAP testing. Yeah.
Yes.
These are about additional or future agenda items.
Yep.
I think, again, the roadmap.
Yes.
The date on the roadmap would be very important for the board.
I'm sure we'll be talking Act
If there's,
73.
as well as
Yes.
73, but the roadmap for community engagement, that's,
Right, to plan
That'd be
for
helpful.
specific
Thank you.
steps. Okay. And we'll still have April 6th, and is that too early to be planning for the
No,
annual
no,
meeting?
we
You'll have.
definitely will have that on the agenda. I am hopeful that maybe I will have someone interested in possibly working with you to facilitate those community conversations that you could meet.
Yeah, okay.
At that meeting, the New England School Development Council is starting to do some of that work across New England. And part of me liked the idea of having someone that has experiences across multiple states and different sized districts to possibly engage in this work.
Okay.
And so I just don't know if they'll be able to commit to that type of timeline or process. So if they can't, I'll continue to ask, but I think having the ability for you to meet with a facilitator and feel them out would be important. So I was hoping maybe to be able to do that night too.
just to let you know, too.
I think grade schools also has facilitators. So.
Great Schools Partnership, they do.
Yeah.
Yep. They have been a little less visible in Vermont recently, but yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah. Jeannie Phillips, who's in
Jeannie doesn't work for them anymore.
She doesn't?
No.
Where's she now?
I don't remember.
Let's go to that agency.
No, Jeannie's great. She would have been.
Yeah, she's a good friend of mine.
Yeah. No, Jeannie's awesome. I've done some work with
I was
Jeannie.
trained to facilitate by Jeannie.
I've done some work with Jeannie when she was with Great Schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay,
Her husband's great too.
Yes.
then I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.